Okay. So how often do you think we should take these in?
Regulators should be brought in at least once a year. If you're using them more than 50 times a year, you should bring them in twice because it does get full of salt and it should be taken apart and serviced. Most regulators, especially by Scuba Pro or Sherwin, are all covered under warranty. So if you bring it in, there's no cost to you the parts just for labor.
Excellent. How about the computer?
Computer, well, you should take the computer out of the case, and in the back there's a little disc. Put a new battery in. Again, all these gauges should come out and check for sand and salt. Make sure, because if there's too much sand in, especially in the compass, it's hard to turn your bezel. Right, if there's too much sand in there, you could damage something.
Excellent.
And we check this for pressure, make sure the pressure's right, as well as check it.
Very cool. Okay. So how about tanks?
Well, your tank should be visually inspected once a year, and it should be hydrostatically tested. Hydrostatic means it's tested for pressure and elasticity, where visual, we just check to see if there's any corrosion. Valve should be done at the same time, and all the oil rings should be changed as well.
Excellent. BCs?
BCs, again, while you're bringing your regulator and your tank in, bring the BC in, we'll check for holes, we'll check the power inflator, and make sure everything is up to snuff for the year.
Excellent.
Okay.
Perfect. I'll leave this with you and
see you in a couple days.
Couple days. Perfect. Sweet. Nova Scotia has the highest number of shipwrecks per kilometer of coastline than anywhere else in the world, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised.
No.
We have to go hunting for some of these, I'm thinking.
And some of them should be too deep as well.
Yeah, and that way, I think, what's really cool about that too is, again, if you're trying to introduce, say, fairly beginner or novice divers as well, to wreck diving, then if you can find some of these that are in relatively shallow water, it's perfect because it gets them jonesing for it then,
Well, it gets them excited, and because most wreck diving requires an advanced certification. So certainly anytime you can find something that's in 40 feet, you're going to find something that is pretty beaten up.
But you shouldn't penetrate. Excuse me. You shouldn't penetrate the wreck anyway, especially if you're
not unless you're certified to do so.
That's right. So.
And that's more technical diving,
which we don't do.
I have fun just doing the.
It's less complicated.
60 feet, 40 feet, 20 feet. Let me, play around with a few crabs like we were today. Did you see there? When we shot, there was two hermit crabs. Those are the largest shells that I've seen on a hermit crab here.
The spindle crabs, the spindle shells. Yeah, I saw those.
That one I've never seen, but even the first shell that we saw, That's the largest. Everything
know.
else is so tiny
They
here.
seemed a lot larger this time around. I don't know if it's a cold weather what, but I got a few pictures of some of those that were in like spindle shells, or no, not spindle shells. Sorry. I'll have to look it up. What variety of
Shell it is.
shell it is? But yeah, I was really surprised because I'm not used to seeing that many of them. And
Yeah.
so large.
Yeah, and that little gooseberry was cute.
Yeah.
I like those. And Rod got a chance to take a look at, check out the lobster trap. Unfortunately, there are no inhabitants. So it either been recently, evicted, shall we say,
Not likely.
which would explain some of the visibility that we had down there.
Yeah.
Even though there was some open water certifications that were going on, there was, it should have been clear where we were diving because we were trying to dive out of that area.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's probably had to do with the pots, being picked up and put down, and then that disturbs the bottom and the sand, and it stays up a little bit. But it was nice. It was much warmer than what I thought it was going to be.
I know. I was really surprised. Interesting things about Paddy's Head. I don't know if you noticed, for anyone who's ever dove it, you may notice that there's like these big concrete structures. Remember, actually a number of years ago when I first encountered it, I say a number of years ago, but they were only put in place in August of 2004. It just seems like it was years ago. Winter is long, what can I say? But I remember wondering, what these were doing there. Apparently they have been placed there by DFO. It's basically in the interest of studying lobster. They're more commonly used, I believe, in coral reefs, but scientists are hoping that here in Nova Scotia that the lobsters will kind of make them a home and give them a chance to kind of study their habitat and behavior.
Lobster here have claws, and they work very, very well. The lobsters down south don't. They have antennae, very long antennae.
Yeah, they do work very, very well. There's a reason why when you buy a lobster and it's still alive, it's got bands around its claws. They can break your fingers. You'll lose, trust me.
Are down there.
Definitely, and as you probably noticed just from what we shot underwater, it is a very lush site. There is a good section of it, we nickname it the graveyard, where it's rocks and gravel just on the bottom, but the remainder of it, it's just covered in seaweed and kelp and small animals.
There's a lot of sand dollars down there, and they were alive.
Yes, they were all dark. They were all like that sort of slate gray sort of color. The white ones you can take because they're dead. They're not inhabited anymore. But if you see them and they're that dark color, leave them alone.
Some of them
Or
were
if
even
they're purple.
reddish, yeah.
Yeah, some of them are kind of purple or kind of red.
Yes.
They're alive too, so don't touch them unless they're white.
Mentioned earlier, it's so abundant down underneath the water. It
Yeah.
reminds me of going down to the Caribbean. So instead of seeing, the reefs, with sponges and other type of vegetation and marine life that it
Triggerfish.
has, that here in Nova Scotia you've got a lot of, it's like what we would see on land as being grass and
Yeah.
plants.
That's part of the fun of it.
Oh, that's why it's never dull.
That's right.